All right, I think we are live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone who is joining us. We'll get started here in a bit, just to give some people some time to as they roll it. I'm gonna make sure that we're actually live on every place. We've looks like we have couple people joining in on X, on the Twitter as well. I don't know how many people out there still call it X or still call it Twitter, but it is what it is. Let's see on YouTube. There's a couple of folks joining us as well. For those who are watching, who are just joining, this is hopefully going to be a regular occurrence. Don't know how often it will, but the goal is basically just to hang out with y'all for a little bit, for an hour or so, and answer your questions. We code Orbit. We are here. Well, nice to see you. Glad to have you here. Super excited to hang out with you for these office hours. Jorge, nice to see you as well. I recognize that profile picture on X or Twitter. Nice to see you. Hey, as well. And then Nuno, awesome. Always glad to have you join the goat, the Nuno Maduro. Everyone, if you're not checking out his content on YouTube as well, be sure to check it out. Like and subscribe for our channel, and then like and subscribe for Nuno's channel as well. Matthew Miranda, nice to have you here as well. Hello. And then Ashley, great to have you here as well. For those who don't know, Ashley has been doing some awesome stuff within in the Laravel community, specifically with stuff like MCP and what that looks like within Laravel. I think he even has a Wisp PHP, which is like a Laravel PHP. It's not Laravel specific. It is a PHP SSH server, and it's really awesome. Victor, what's up? Nice to see you. Jay, what's up? Watching from Guyana. Nice to see you. Glad to have you here this morning or this evening, this afternoon, wherever it is for you individually. Kenya, Evans, nice to have you here. Thank you so much for joining. It's awesome to see people from all over the world. I am from Arizona in the United States, so I am in the. It is warm outside for me right now. It is morning. I'm not a morning person, but I'm always happy to jump on with all of you and get you guys give me energy. So I'm super excited. Arslan, nice to see you. TJ Punyapal, nice to see you as well. Laravel forever. Keep shipping. Let's go. Awesome. Vanilson from Angola. Nice to have you here. I apologize if I mispronounce anybody's names as well. Most of the time I'm pretty good at them, but I also I might just misread it, so I apologize in advance. But yeah, glad to have you all here. We'll probably just get started. Is this working, Dan? I hope it's working. We'll see. Hopefully you might see your own comment, and maybe that was just a test to see if your comment shows up. Looks like you're on vacation with the palm tree, at least in Slack. I think that's the default palm tree, like, hey, we're out of the office emoji. But if you're joining from vacation, hopefully your vacation is going well. Yeah, but I'm glad to have you all here. Like I said, when I started, Dan said that was a great ping test. Yeah, I don't know the exact what the latency is between when I see it and when it actually, or when you type it and when it actually shows up. But anyways, glad to have you here. I think on X it might be a little slower than YouTube. I think YouTube is technically fastest when it goes for like latency and anything like that. We don't have any delay set up, so whatever delay is actually happening is what YouTube and LinkedIn and everything just have out of the box. But yeah, we're super excited to kick off this office hours. The goal is mostly to, one, hang out with you all, two, answer your questions that you might have. I'm not going to have all of the answers. I'm not going to just know right off the bat anything that you all bring up, but I'm going to try my best. And two, maybe we can point ourselves in the right direction. If I can't answer it, we have a lovely support team, a fantastic support team, who is willing to help answer that with us, even if we kind of have to take it offline. But the goal is hopefully just to get as many of those initial questions out of the way as possible, or just things that you might have to think about, especially in regards to deploying to Laravel Cloud, maybe even domain registrants. Those are the things that I usually see when it comes into tickets that are coming in within Laravel Cloud. But if there are questions that you might have about Forge, Night Watch. There's not too many questions I can answer for Night Watch that aren't already kind of answered out there. Laravel Vapor, or just anything else about Laravel, I'm happy to kind of just answer them. I think the goal is to be a transparent, open book this morning. And so, like I said, I'll do my best to answer everything, but we can always just work through things together and hopefully just have a chance to hang out, learn some things, maybe just have some fun chatting as well. Yeah, just Steve King, everyone's favorite front end dev. Hey, Josh, I don't know if that means I'm everyone's favorite front end dev, or you are, or maybe everyone. Like, I think there's a bunch of everyone's favorite front end devs in the channel. We'll just go for that. Or Nuno. I don't know if Nuno can be considered a front end dev. Bobby, or I think it's Bobby. I don't know if it's Bobby, but Bobby. Any other awesome news? I don't think so, other than I'm super pumped for the things that are coming out of the Laravel team, and for the things that you are going to see at Laracon US. For those who have the opportunity to show up to Laracon US, the tickets are on sale. I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited to get to go to Laracon US. Last year was my first time going to Laracon US, and I was planning on going even before I got hired on the Laravel team. And then now I get the opportunity to go as part of the Laravel team and interact with folks like you, who I've just known online, who show up in these comments on the channel. If you have the means to go and have time off, or your company is willing to like help pitch in for a little bit, it is absolutely incredible. I love being able to meet people there, and it was just an absolute blast last year. So many cool people around. I agree. It's been awesome. Ashley is best egg. Okay, Ashley. Yes, Ashley is this one. This Ashley right there is awesome. Samuel, nice to see you. Glad to have you here this morning, afternoon, evening, wherever it is for you all. I guess that's a good question. It is my morning. For everyone in the chat, what time is it for you? Evening? Are you staying up late? Is it middle of the workday and I don't tell your employer what's happening? What's up? Is it morning, afternoon, or evening? Let us know in the comments. Preksha, hello. Sounds more insightful. Thank you. Any hints to the new updates coming to Forge? I unfortunately don't have any of those hints. One, because I probably couldn't talk about them and I might get fired if I do. Two, I don't really know too much, honestly. There's stuff that I do know. One, I think it's just I think I'm just super excited for what's going to be announced at Laracon. But yeah, no new updates, unfortunately, on my end. Hey, if possible, share experience about auto scale. Okay, we can talk about that. Auto scaling in Laravel Cloud and experience. I don't have personally too much firsthand experience, but we can talk about what that looks like, and then what things to look out for, especially when it comes to pricing and stuff like that. Any new secret projects? I'm actually trying to think. I'm not lying when I say I don't think there's any new secret projects. There's some smaller things that I'm excited that are kind of like in the works, but and most of that is going to be open source stuff, but nothing new secret projects beyond that that I know of, at least. Hello and good morning from India. Nice to see you. I got to go to Laracon India for the first time when was that? February, March? I can't remember exactly. I think it was in February. I'm excited to see the Laravel updates. Well, glad to have you here, Mahesh. Awesome. We have a lot of people. I'm going to try to get to all the comments or all the questions at once. MySQL DB ready on cloud. So MySQL is in the sense ready. There are people who are using it in production environments for that. I believe we still have it flagged. I could be wrong, but I believe we still have it flagged as like a developer preview, mostly because there's things that we just want to make sure we have completely 100% ready for you. So it's something that we is ready for you to use in Laravel Cloud, but we still have it marked as developer preview, mostly just to give you an idea that there are some things that we might want to change and improve upon that. How to use ShadCN with Livewire. There really is no ShadCN with Livewire ability in the sense that you have like specific frameworks or libraries that are HTML dependent for for Livewire. That's not Livewire specific, but the closest thing you're probably going to get with ShadCN with Livewire is what the Livewire starter kits use within Laravel. So all of these starter kits use the free version of Livewire Flux, which was built by the creator of Livewire and looks and feels a lot like what you would expect from something like ShadCN. Awesome. We have all the times, everyone. 6 p.m. from John. Good evening, John. Jorge's 4 p.m. Ryan's 8 a.m. TJ 11:08 a.m. from NJ, New Jersey. I was like, hopefully, I'm trying to think if that's like an actual country and not a state. But yeah, New Jersey. Dan, 11 a.m., 8 a.m., 8:38 p.m. in India, 6:10 p.m. in Dubai. That's one of those that's like half hour difference. Oh no, India is the one that's half hour difference. That's what it is. Pedro, 4 p.m. from Lisbon. Awesome. So many people in the chat. It's great to have you all here. We'll try to get some. Try to get all these questions answered, and if not, we're just going to jump right in. Again, like I said, for those new who are joining, this is hopefully going to be a regular occurrence in the sense that it's an opportunity for me to get to hang out with y'all and just to kind of riff and answer some questions, but two, mostly just to be able to get to learn together. Like maybe there's some things that we can kind of troubleshoot together, and if you have questions specifically about Laravel Cloud, about Laravel, about maybe just things part of the Laravel ecosystem or community, I'm going to try my best to help answer them this morning in the time that we have. Do I answer hard questions regarding Laravel Octane? I guess that's a good point. I probably don't know too much when it comes to the intricacies and in-depths of Laravel open source or like framework stuff. A lot of that is probably going to be best answered in we have like an unofficial Laravel Slack channel or a Discord that a lot of people would know, or maybe even in the GitHub is probably going to be a great point as well. But I could probably find the person who would know that question. Let's see. Good morning, good evening, everyone. We have what would live in your routes.ai.php file. Taylor did tweet that. For those who are unfamiliar with like this phrasing, Taylor tweeted, what would live in your routes/ai.php file. That could be a hint to what might be coming up in new Laravel things as well. Let's go ahead. Let's see. Any idea when the Sydney region is opening in Laravel Cloud? Taylor mentioned it was likely a next region when during the stream with Primogen. I've been checking daily. I don't think there's a specific date as to when. I know the Laravel Cloud team is working hard to find additional regions, not just Sydney, but other ones as well, to say, and just kind of making sure that we have everything in place to not only be able to deploy there, but also to have every single resource that you're looking to create and host there. And that's really like the biggest thing that the folks at the Laravel Cloud team are working to happen. Awesome. 1211 from Brazil. 1211 from Brazil. Wow, it's staying up late. If that's, I think Brazil, no, I think that's still 12:11 p.m. I believe in Brazil. 11 a.m. in Detroit, 12:11 p.m. Yep, from Brazil. There we go. 10 p.m. from Thailand. So you're probably one of our latest ones, I believe. Thailand, nice to have you here. And Tessa, I love that the office hours are live. Well, glad to have you here. Tessa is on Twitter and X. Yeah, I'm super excited to try to get this up and running, and mostly just be able to hang out, answer questions, maybe dive into some things as well. Let's go ahead, and I'm going to share my screen, and we can talk through a couple of things together now that a couple of questions are kind of popping up as well. Let's go ahead and see. Again, for those just joining in as well, if you do have questions regarding Laravel Cloud, I'll try to get my best to, one, answer them, two, to see them and try to pop them up on the screen so we can kind of answer them together. So I'm going to share my screen and we can get going here. All right. Let's go ahead. And for some reason, it didn't select the right one. That is not the one I want. Is it this one? There we go. Awesome. So for those of you who are new, John, it'd be funny to have me try to speak Russian. I don't even know where I would start, honestly. So I don't know if it'd be funny or just embarrassing for me and anyone who is actually Russian. But yeah, glad to have everyone here as well. How can I implement a QR code reader? Anyone able to help? Great question, Luis. Built an app with Laravel and Livewire. How can I implement a QR code reader? Anyone able to help? We probably can't help with that live on stream, but I'll kind of help point you in the right direction. I would say the first thing to kind of look for is basically a QR code reader. There's probably a package for one. That'd be the first thing I'd look to implement. But in one sense, QR codes are just text, but formulate in one specific image. So it's just finding the right package. There's probably either a JavaScript package that works with like native browser tools in the sense of using the camera within a browser, or there's probably one for PHP as well, but it's probably going to be a JavaScript package that you'll have to reach for. Wondering how to cancel a queued job. Bobby, is that for Laravel Cloud specifically, or is that going to be for just maybe where are you hosting this queued job? I'm curious with that question. All right. Let's go ahead. All right, here a question we have from Evans. Is there a way to go custom on Laravel Cloud, running a multi-tenant application with multiple databases with custom domains and subdomains per tenant? I would say there is a way to do that. It's something that you would probably have to think through yourself in the sense of where those domains, or how often. Currently there's no way to do custom domains in the sense that you can't have multiple domains per application at this time, but if you had subdomains, like let's say you have a subdomains for your main domain, if I have example.com, or let's say if I have this curate one on my screen, if I had a domain attached to this one, I could have multiple kind of like wildcard subdomains for that and be able to then route based off of that. But in terms of custom domains and multiple of them per application, that's not something that's possible as of right now. Awesome. And for everyone kind of seeing on the screen, yeah, my camera's doing some weird thing with like the green glitch. So that's not you, that is me. It's probably some weird setting that I or just overload of my system at the time. So that is not you, that is me. Let's go ahead and see. Okay, a broad Laravel is highly recommended. How important is it? Yeah, I guess that's a great question. Is how important is Laravel? It kind of depends on what you're using it for. So like Laravel is built to handle high loads when you're using it for anything like an API, or you can use it as a full stack application to be able to serve and render your application using front end technologies, whether that's just server rendered templates like Laravel Blade, or using Livewire or Inertia on the front end. I'm going to go ahead and hide my screen. I wonder if that's like kickstarted where my fragments on my screen were coming from. Very interesting. Yeah, we'll bump to sharing my screen here in a little bit. I'm just going to try a different way to do that, because it looks like that's what was causing some of the issues as well. But yeah, keep bringing in all those questions while I look to try to fix that. But yeah, the goal of being able to answer some of these questions is going to, one, get to shed more insight onto what other people might be struggling with, and what there are some things to kind of think through when it comes to deploying within Laravel Cloud, but then also the ability to have the ability to be able to chat with you as we talk through all of these things as well. Jorge, Josh is in the matrix. Yeah, I think that eventually stopped. Emil, can you show how to add more advanced npm Vite stuff, having multiple Vite apps in the repo? Okay, this is a great question. Let's go ahead and jump with that. I'm going to share my screen a different way, and maybe we can see if this works the way I want it. So let's go ahead and sweet. Awesome. So this should be a little bit better. We'll go ahead and say, so there's kind of like two things to kind of think through when we're talking about advanced npm and Vite stuff. And so what Emil is talking about here is I have this app curate in my Laravel Cloud application. And when I go into an environment, in the settings, we're going to have the ability for deployments to say, I want to have specific build commands. So we can do stuff on the node processes. So we have things out of the box. We have npm CI, audit false. We have npm run build. These are things that are given to us out of the box from Laravel Cloud, but there's more things that we can do both here in these build commands with things that are actually talking to the deployment process and talking to the actual server itself. So one of the things I always like to bring a note of is in our documentation in the knowledge base tab, and then if we go to this mono repo support, this is the one I kind of always like to point to. Mostly, it doesn't specifically answer your question, Emil, but it also does point to the opportunities that there are to kind of go deeper into what can be possible within this. So basically, a lot of people would like to do advanced npm and Vite stuff within Laravel Cloud by having multiple repos. If they have one repo that you're attaching to Laravel Cloud, but that repo has multiple apps in it, well, how do we deploy that? Well, maybe you have a front end that's being deployed elsewhere, but then your back end Laravel is also in that same repo. And here's like some code that can walk you through what that might look like as well, in the sense of saying, okay, we have a temporary repo. And again, these build commands that we see here in Laravel Cloud, they really just are interaction with the server that you have. Now, we don't have full interaction like SSH keys and stuff like that, but at the same time, you do have this little step process to be able to talk with like the temporary folder directories, as well as your specific repo that Laravel Cloud is downloading and hosting for you. So this is basically just saying you might have a specific subdirectories or repo folder that we want to move in order to make this happen, even if the root directory is not the Laravel application. So I would say this is more Okay, in this sense, it's probably not much advanced npm Vite stuff for hosting Laravel Cloud, but this shows that this is possible in the sense that there is a lot to think about and a lot to also have the ability to do when it comes to hosting on Laravel Cloud. Let's go ahead and take a look back at the comments. Let's see. When deploying Laravel apps to the cloud, how do you balance between performance, optimization, and cost efficiency? This is a great question. You're queuing me up, Irhan. I'm glad to have you here in the chat as well. But let's go ahead and let's try to tackle this together. So the first thing that I like to think through, let me kind of pull this up. Actually, I'll go ahead and do this layout right here. Okay, the first thing that I like to kind of think through when it comes to cost efficiency as well as optimization. First, there's going to be a great YouTube video on the Laravel channel by Chris Sev, who is our director of DevRel here at Laravel. And Chris has a fantastic video talking about 5 tips on how to save money, basically, with hosting with Laravel Cloud. But the first things that I like to kind of point out and think through is this screen is kind of going to be your source of truth. Within the environment, you have this grid, this screen to be able to say, okay, I can see at a glance everything that is happening. One thing that I like to note is that within Laravel Cloud, resources are not specifically created and exist only within a environment. So in that sense, if I was to create a database right here, and I was going to create a new database, and I want to call this curate because that's the name of my app. And let's go ahead and say that this is, we'll just keep it as a serverless Postgres. Okay, well, now we have specific configuration options that this is like a dev environment versus a pro environment. And I'm just going to go ahead and create that database cluster. Now, we created this database within this particular environment, but the resource itself lives outside of our specific environment. So if I was to save these changes, I'm just going to save them only and not actually deploy these particular changes. But let's go ahead and look at our main team. So this is my account. And if I go to resources, I now see that I have that database. So we have this curate database. So it lives outside of that environment, because if I was to go into this application here, take a look at that, and that application already has a database attached to it. But if I was to go into, let's see, if I was to go into, we'll do this application here. This is a little sneak peek at what we're whipping up at Laravel as well. So no spoilers, but maybe a little bit of spoilers. I can actually attach that database to this new environment. A bunch of glitches. I apologize, everyone. That is not you. That's me. So what this means here, is when we create a database, it's going to live outside of that environment that we created on. It just gives us a neat little button to click to create it. And of course, we can add existing ones. We can have specific database sections living within a full database resource. So one, that is the best way to save money when it comes to a database, because you're using the same resources, especially if you select a MySQL database. Like if we were to create a new database that is a MySQL database, and you have multiple apps using that database, that's going to be one way to save resources. Another thing to think of is that database there's ways to have hibernation. So when it comes to balancing performance optimization and cost efficiency, the biggest one is going to be in terms of how you are utilizing your hibernation of settings, as well as the hibernation settings of maybe your database as well. So if we go into edit for like this app environment, we see here that we have the ability to set no replicas, but a specific size. And then we also have the ability to set custom replicas, so a minimum and a maximum of specific replicas. And maybe that could be a smaller size. And so this is where it kind of depends on what your resources are and how horizontally you need to scale in terms of your application. We do have a pricing calculator on Laravel Cloud that allows you to kind of look through, to kind of gives you some tips and tricks and just some things of like, okay, if I did have multiple replicas of, let's see, for the flex class, maybe I had this specific flex, and I did want it to, right now this is not hibernating, but I did want it to hibernate, and I wanted it to hibernate for, I don't know, 80% of the time. And this is what it's going to kind of look like if you're using like the pay as you go, the free, the $0 plus costing plan. And so that is one thing to kind of think through is, okay, using the price calculator to kind of calculate what you might be using in the future. But another thing to think through is that hibernation feature of being able to turn that hibernation feature on. That's going to be specific for the application environment. Now, this is also going to include, so any request that hits this environment is going to trigger that hibernation, that sleep off. But this is a great way to, a lot of times people use hibernation for if they have a application that really only serves a lot of requests, during work hours, or serves a lot of requests during the weekdays, but not during the weekends. Then hibernating your application is going to be one of the most cost-efficient ways to kind of keep this going. Because if you're not running any queues, you don't want to, or you just don't necessarily even have any web traffic to your application, then hibernation for like this is perfect. I'll also say that when it comes to the database, if you are using the serverless Postgres database, you have opportunities to say how much this is hibernating after specific seconds. Now, the wake up time for a Postgres database is going to be a lot faster than your application, mostly because those cold start times are a lot quicker within a database usage rather than an application resource itself. So I would say that this is a better way to kind of bring that down, especially if this is okay to do like within like work hours versus days, which the application environment would be as well. Now, when it comes to cache, it's kind of same thing as the database resources, how they live outside of your environment. So as much as you can, if you are in need of a cache, maybe it's just using the database for a cache. Like that's probably going to be one of the most cost efficient ways to do that. But if you do need a dedicated cache, then I would say make sure to, because they start at $5 per month on the while hosting your cache on Laravel Cloud. Again, you're not locked in to have this cache available on Laravel Cloud. But you do have the ability to use that cache across multiple environments, multiple programs, or multiple projects as well. So I think that's something to keep in mind is like environments are their own entity, but most of these resources, any buckets, any caches, any databases are going to live outside of those environments and can be used in conjunction with multiple environments. That's one of the easiest ways to save money, but a lot of times it's also one of the things that you might have to think through is, okay, maybe that database is still being connected to somewhere and I don't necessarily need that database connected. And so maybe that database just needs to be destroyed because you don't necessarily use it anymore. Let's go ahead and I'm going to take a look through some of the comments as well. Will Reverb on Laravel Cloud be similarly easy to implement like e.g. Bucket right now? I don't have specifics on what Reverb on Laravel Cloud is going to look like. I know that it's something that is on the forefront of our Laravel Cloud's team's mind on what that looks like right now. But yeah, I would imagine, just like with everything else that we kind of shoot for when it comes to implementing things within Laravel Cloud, it's going to be as easy as possible. But yeah, super excited for when that time comes as well. Is there a way to switch apps between organizations? I do not believe so at this point. We can kind of like double check. Be sure to email the support team or on Laravel Cloud just to see if that is possible. I don't believe so though at this point, or if it's something that we can't do manually. But I don't believe there's a way to switch apps between organizations. Right now, they kind of live in this organization, and I believe it's all attached to that organization, mostly because it's billed per organization. If you've learned, like if you create a new organization, you're asked to kind of set up billing for that specific account as well. Let's go ahead and see. Chris says, "Don't leak the Flux key." I'm surprised you caught that, Chris. I only showed half of it, but yeah, that is. If for those who are using Livewire Flux, and let's go ahead for those who. For those who are using Livewire Flux, the easiest way, and the docs of Livewire Flux actually say it as well, but you can use if you have paid for Livewire Flux, like the full version, there is a way to activate it using Laravel Cloud, and that's going to be in the build commands. And so Chris was referencing that I showed, it was showing half of it, I think, my email, for example, and then it showed like maybe 2 or 3 characters. So you can't steal it because you didn't see the full thing. Let's go ahead and see what other questions are coming in. Let's see. Regarding Composer, NPM stuff, the mono repo stuff, Jagdeep, I think maybe that got cut off. I wonder if, how can I code review the security of Laravel itself? Can we do that without Laravel pest test? I mean, if developer doesn't write clean or code according to security optimized? Great question, Wally. There's probably multiple ways to do it, and it's kind of just going to depend on like your specific preference, as well as like what your company or what you are looking for within that. Security is kind of separate from like testing, in the sense that security, you can't really have automated stuff that's like, oh, make sure that this is just secure. There's no easy way to do that. What I would say is, within testing, you have to make sure that you are testing to make sure, oh, this route cannot be accessed unless you have this particular policy, or this particular controller method cannot be performed unless you have the correct authorization. And so that's really where something like Laravel Pest for testing can come in, to make sure that those security purposes, those security tests are actually created. And then same thing with, like, it's great to have something like PHP Stand, or something like PHP Rector, to be able to say, okay, is this code as modern and as simple and as efficient as possible, which helps with that too. Let's go ahead. Akram, hello from Pakistan. Glad to have you here, everyone. Thanks again for joining so much. It's been awesome to just be able to hang out with you all and answer these questions as well. Thank you again for joining. For those who are just joining, we're kind of starting this office hours time to be able to answer your questions, hang out a little bit, dive into some things within Laravel Cloud or other parts about Laravel. But yeah, be sure to like and subscribe this video. It helps within our Laravel channel to make sure that we're getting to as many people as possible. So that would help us as well. But yeah, thank you so much for being here. If you're in the morning, night, evening, whatever that might be, super excited for you all as well. And yeah, Chris mentioned he'd recommend looking up Stephen Reese Carter. He has a website with great info. Try searching for Securing Laravel. I believe there is a Laracast episode from Stephen Reese Carter. I believe it is free. I don't know completely if that is the case, but it's fantastic. Kind of talking through, okay, what are the absolute basic things you have to think through when it comes to security within Laravel. Is it possible to install all the requirements an app needs? Example, Spotsy browser shot, which needs Puppeteer. If not, what cloud tech is preventing it? That's a great question. Let me go ahead and pull up my screen as well. I can't necessarily talk to what cloud tech is preventing it. I do know that there are a lot of things let's go ahead and say like PHP extensions. There are a lot of PHP extensions that we install out of the box for you within each individual one. So these are a great kind of resource to say, okay, these are available for you. And again, you mentioned Browser Shot, which needs Puppeteer. So this necessarily isn't a great answer to your question, Emil. But for those who are looking to use Laravel Cloud, but you're like, oh, I need Imagic, or I need, the Zend Opcache, or whatever that might be. There are PHP extensions that Laravel Cloud supports and installs out of the box for you within that environment. Now, when it comes to additional things, something like needs Puppeteer, which would be part of like the Node environment, I don't necessarily know the full limitations, in the sense that I don't know if that's necessarily on the roadmap or if it's something that has been discussed. I know it is something that is requested a lot, and so the team is definitely aware of it, but it's more one of those things that how can we make this efficient as possible for everyone? How can we give the right people the right permissions and the right set of customization, so that you do feel that you can have that kind of customization, but it doesn't hinder it for everyone else who might be might be hosting within Laravel Cloud as well. So I would say definitely keep checking. Definitely keep checking the official Twitter or any kind of like Laravel resources, such as like our YouTube channel as well, because I do know that this is something that is probably going to happen. I just don't necessarily know when, but it is something that the team is definitely looking at, or at least aware of at that point as well. Let's go ahead and see. I don't know what Chris was answering, but Chris in the comments said you can use the same DB as long as it's in the same region. If it's a different region, you can still use it, but it'll be slow and needs to be configured manually, I think. So I don't necessarily know. Oh, okay, this was the answer to, is it possible to use the same database server across projects with different databases defined inside of them? So yes, as long as it's the same region, everything should work fairly similarly. But yeah, different region would, like Chris mentioned, it probably would need to be configured manually at that point. And you do have, within Laravel Cloud, you do have the ability to, if I was to pull up my cloud resources as well, I'm not going to leak them, but if I was to view these credentials right here, you do have the ability to have those credentials just given to you. So you can connect to this from a different application, even if it's not in that same region as you had. Like if it's in the same region and same organization, it's as simple as just attaching it to the environment. But if for whatever reason you do need to, link to that resource, wherever that resource lives, you can view those credentials and connect to it just like you would any other database. Is MySQL available? It is. So if I was to create a new database and create it with MySQL, I'm going to share my screen again. Apologies for that. So yeah, Laravel MySQL is available. We just still have it configured as a developer preview. It's not recommended for use in production. Folks are using it in production for those who are who want to use it. It's kind of just more of a use at your own risk, in that sense that it is something that we just have still marked as a developer preview. And that's one of the things that we kind of mention here in the docs as well as in the application, just to know that within MySQL that things might change, one in how it's deployed, but then also maybe like stability as well. But that's something that the team is actively working on, and it's something that a lot of folks are actually using it in production too. All right, let's see what else, other questions, everyone. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Super excited to have you all. Let's go ahead and see Jean-Pierre. Hello, I'm new to Cloud, but with Laravel Cloud, would I be able to access the server, for example, to the Nginx configurations? Unfortunately not. That is not something that is accessible at this point in time. So basically, the only configurations that you have within your Laravel Cloud server are specifically going to be through the Laravel Cloud UI. So anything that needs to be configured when it comes to what kind of domain you're attaching, or what kind of like what's those hibernation settings, or how much scale a specific app environment is going to be doing, that's all going to be done through the Laravel Cloud UI. So no like SSH connection at this time for Laravel Cloud. All right. How do you overcome the bots crawling your site? Will this impact hibernation, or will Cloudflare cache handle that? It's never going to be 100% accurate, in the sense that, you know, there's always going to be stuff that happens, like Cloudflare, which is something that Laravel Cloud uses out of the box within your setup. So we basically the cloud, any app that is hosted on Laravel Cloud uses Cloudflare as a globally distributed caching and network security. And so basically any of those incoming HTTP requests, usually they have to go through these security layers, like a DDoS mitigation, as well as any kind of like web firewall layers. And so if, you know, Cloudflare itself is not even going to be 100% and catch all of those bots 100% of the time, but any app hosted within Laravel Cloud is going to have that mitigated using the best technology possible, in my opinion, within Cloudflare. Ashley says Stephen is great, plus 100. Yes, Stephen is great, especially for those security questions. I've learned a lot from Stephen, and I think everyone here can too. I don't get it why I need $20 monthly for Laravel Cloud just to have the privilege to use custom domain. Yeah, I get it, right? I know that this is kind of tough to know within like the production. Is like, yes, the production does give you more than just the domain, so you do have additional included resources with that as well, and it includes more than just the domain itself. So it's one of those things where the pay as you go, the $0 plus any kind of resource that you use within the sandbox plan is going to be great, especially if you're just needing to test it out. But yes, custom domain is going to be attached to the production plan. Thanks, Chris and Josh, for clarifying. Security meant if something like HTTP access got removed and .env is public, some kind of security we faced recently. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and with that, I think that means like security within Laravel Cloud. I would say a lot of that is just kind of up to you. So like whatever you do within your application is going to be deployed and configured. Like we don't try to catch that, but we do by default, an application that's deployed to Laravel Cloud by default is going to have the app env of production. So you do have to have a little bit of manual work to override that. So if there is an issue, most of the time it's probably going to be something that you're either doing on and intentionally, or something that is just might have been missed locally as well. So I think Laravel Cloud tries to prevent that as much as possible, especially within using like saying any application that gets pushed to Laravel Cloud is going to be a production application, even if it's not. Ashley, thank you for this answer. Emil probably needs to use Sidecar with Browser Shop for now. I had great success with that. That's a great option as well. So for those who don't know, Sidecar was created by Aaron Francis to kind of be able to host something like a node process on AWS, but being able to attach it or connect to it easily within your Laravel application. So if you do need stuff like that, I know that I've used Sidecar myself, even with hosting with Laravel Vapor. There was stuff that I just needed to have an additional resource attached, and this is great for it. It's kind of like a microservice kind of thing for your Laravel application. Lim, great work on Laravel. Make it a lot easier to use PHP. Any plans to add more features to Laravel Forge? There are a lot of plans to to add more features to Laravel Forge. Taylor has kind of mentioned how updates to Laravel Forge are coming. It's not something that most people think that, oh, Laravel Cloud is going to replace Laravel Forge. That's not the case. Laravel Cloud and Laravel Forge live together in harmony. They are for two distinct purposes, and they are both fantastic for the purposes that you need. And so be on the lookout for updates to Laravel Forge, but you're going to see most of them will probably be teased before them, but most of them will also probably be shown on the Laracon US stage come July. Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for the comment and the compliment. I appreciate that. Glad to have you here. Chris, any thoughts on Neon being purchased by Databricks? I don't personally have any thoughts, unfortunately. I think it's great for everyone involved. But yeah, those are my personal thoughts. I don't think that we have an official stance as a company as well. A tip for everyone worried about cost: deploy an app and look at the usage after a couple of days. Easier to try and test instead of worrying too much. That is my AWS strategy as well. Thank you, Emil. That's a great strategy as well. It's one of those things where, and for those who don't know, let me go ahead and share my screen back again. If you go into any one of your environments, let me find a good one right here. What you will see is metrics is going to be one of those things that's a great test to see, okay, how many requests is this particular application doing? And this is just a demo environment, so you're not going to see too much here. But this metrics tab shows within 24 hours, 7 days, or 30 days. And that does give you at least a little indication of like, okay, how popular is this? One, how much traffic am I actually hosting? Two, but then there's further steps that you can take within Laravel Cloud to just actually at least start to review what this might cost you as well. So one of the things that you can look at is if you go to your whole organization, you have that usage as well. But then you also have in your invoices tab, you also have the ability to see what this preview might look like here too. And so that's the ability to say, okay, what does this look like particularly for your application as well? Let me go ahead and let's go ahead and bring my screen back just now. Can you change the main database as defined in the credentials dialog? I don't know. I don't necessarily know what you mean by that, CCY. Main database, are you referring to? Are you referring to the like changing a database structure? So like Laravel Postgres, you want to migrate it to Laravel Cloud. Let us know what you mean specifically by that as well. Doctor, hello, with best solution to self-hosted monitoring for Laravel. Yeah, I guess like there's probably a bunch of different options. One that like it depends on how in depth you need for self-hosted monitoring. There's probably a bunch of different resources out there as well. But within like the Laravel first-party ecosystem, you have Laravel Telescope, which is not recommended for production, but within locally, that's something that you can kind of have built into your application to say, okay, this is what this looks like locally, and then you can test that a little bit further. In production, there is Laravel Pulse, which is self-hosted, and then in the future, it's not going to be self-hosted, at least to start, but it's not going to be, but Laravel Nightwatch is going to be coming out soon as well. Let's see. Hi from South Africa. Glad to have you here, Leonardus. And CCY, the database name and the database credentials dialog. I see by default it is main. That's actually a great question. Why don't we figure that out together? Actually, I don't know off the top of my head if that can be changed. Why don't we try it out? So if I go into here into our main database, I want to detach it. Let's go ahead and create a new one. Yeah, I believe only the cluster name can be changed here. And then if I was to attach a database and attach a new database, this is where I can create a new database within there. So I believe that main, you can adjust it from the resources tab within your environment. So resources tab, I believe. So this one's main here. I don't know if we can. Yeah, we can't edit that specific main after we create it. So it looks like once you create it, then you have your specific cluster name that you can give it. And that's, but then the only way to change it, at least through the UI, you probably can change it by connecting to it through a database GUI and change that specific name. I know that that's what I did for this specific Cloud DB, for example. But anytime you attach a new resource to a database, like a new environment or a new project to a database, you have the ability to attach a new database to that cluster. And so that's where you can change the name as well. But I would say a lot of these things, you don't necessarily have to rely on the UI. It doesn't look like we allow you to change that from this UI, but you can connect to it from a database GUI to let that happen as well. Any plans to support Bun and PNPM as a by default package manager other than NPM? I don't know if there are any plans for that, unfortunately. Not off the top of my head. I can ask around, and I'll try to make a tweet about it just to try to answer for this question. I don't know if there are any plans specifically, but yeah, I know that a lot of people on the Cloud and Laravel team are huge fans of Bun and PNPM as well. Wasn't aware of adding the multiple DPNs in the cluster like you just showed. That answered my question. Looks great. Love the content. Awesome. Glad to have glad to have you here, CCY, and also glad to help in that resource. So that, yeah, so any resource, whether it is a database, and I'll go ahead and share my screen again so you're not just looking at my face while I'm talking about it, but any resources, whether it's a database or a cache or object storage, looks like I don't have any of those created on this account, but any resource can be shared across multiple environments, multiple projects. So even one of the things, and you might know this as well, but if I was to create a new environment and I wanted to, let's actually do this with a different, let me go ahead and create this. If I was to create a new environment and I want this to happen here, any new environment that I give, let's go ahead and make this, I don't know, dev. Any new environment now has the ability to attach to that resource as well. So whether that's a database, a cache, or a bucket, even if I have two environments, a main environment or a dev environment, I can attach those already created resources and then just create a new database name underneath that cluster. So this one, I'm just going to create a new database here of dev. And so now I have the dev named database, but it's all living within that one cluster. So that way, that is one of the easiest ways to save money, especially within resources, because if you have a MySQL database or a Postgres database that has a lot of connections, so it's not hibernating as much, and caches are expensive. So as much as you can use and utilize one cache across all of your applications, the better it's going to be. And then it's just as simple as, okay, maybe one application is using that cache too much. Well, it's as simple as maybe detaching it and adding a new cache for that particular resource, that particular environment, or you just up the cache size. And so that's one way to kind of keep everything, as cost efficient as possible, because you're just sharing resources across your application, across your account. Awesome. I wonder how powerful PHP Native and Laravel Cloud will be. That'll be very, very interesting to see. I got the chance to play around with PHP Native myself just the other day. It's very, very fascinating, very interesting, and pairing it like with an API that's hosted on Laravel Cloud is going to be incredible. And even I have a React Native application myself that also has a Laravel API that is hosted on Laravel Cloud. And I think Laravel Cloud is fantastic, not just for the full stack applications, but even for the APIs as well, because it just makes it super simple. I actually had a video on the Laravel Cloud, Laravel official channel that talks about using Next.js within Laravel, in the sense that using Laravel as an API for Next.js. And in that, we hosted that Laravel API on Laravel Cloud, and it was extremely simple to basically just get that up and running and to accept connections from Laravel Cloud. Let's go ahead and see if there's any other questions that I missed. Again, thank you all so much for being here and for just kind of hanging out as well. I want to go through setting up account, mostly because a lot of the questions that come in through our support channels, as well as things that I see online, relate to attaching a domain to Laravel Cloud. It is one of those things that domains can be finicky in and of itself. They can be tricky sometimes. It can take 3 minutes sometimes, depending on propagation, depending on your DNS server, depending on so many other factors. I don't even know all of them and what it means or what's going on behind the scenes most of the time, but it also can take up to 24 hours a lot of times too for that propagation to take effect. So I figured we would go and attach a domain to an existing resource that I have in my Laravel Cloud account, just to see if everything, see what kind of issues we might run up against, and see how seamless it is. Doing it live is a great example of what you might need to expect or to think through. Yeah, I don't think there was any other big ones, so we can jump right into doing that. Oh, Trevor says, configure Nuxt 3 module for Laravel Echo. Yeah, first of all, Nuxt 3 and their modules are fantastic. I know that there is a module already built for Sanctum. I don't know if there's one built for Laravel Echo yet. But I would believe the use Echo hook, which is specific for Vue and React, that was just released by the Laravel team, can be used within Nuxt as well. There's nothing inertia specific within that. It is Vue and React specific within the Echo.js library. So that should be, while it wouldn't be as clean maybe as a module, it's a package specifically for Vue and React as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I can actually show that as well. So if we go to the use Echo, we'll go Echo Laravel. Again, let's do it live. So I haven't pulled this up beforehand or anything like that. But in the broadcasting environment, there's a new video out on the channel by Christoph that talks about this in a little bit more in depth. And so this would be specific for JavaScript front end, your client side, to connect to Echo to say, one, I want to listen to things, and what happens when I listen to it. Basically providing you a function, a callback to say, when something happens within my Echo broadcasting environment, well, now I'm listening to that anyways. And I believe you should be able to use this with Nuxt. I believe there's nothing specific about it. So basically, as long as that configuration settings for your pusher or reverb channel are set up properly, and this is how you would do it within Vue, for example, you make sure that Echo is configured. But then it's as simple as, let's go ahead and find those documentation as well. But then it's as simple as this use Echo hook for Vue to say, okay, and again, I might be completely wrong based off of my understanding of Nuxt, but I think all of this can be used outside of inertia, outside of Laravel. So you just grab this setup Vue, import Echo. And if your Echo, like I said, is already configured to connect to your Reverb server, wherever that lives outside of your Nuxt application, then you just use this use Echo hook. And it's as simple as listening to that particular broadcasting event and then doing something with it on the back end. So maybe not as clean or as maybe Nuxt-ish as a module, but still extremely simple. And this just came out last week, I believe. Yeah, last week. Yeah, so be sure to check that out, Trevor, if you have not already. Joe Reverb on Cloud. I know it's something that a lot of people are hoping for. The team is not the team is aware of how important something like this is. I don't have any clear dates or when that might happen or what it even looks like, but I know that it's something that the team is hard at work on. Will Nightwatch just be a tick box to enable in Laravel Cloud? I don't know if that is something that's going to happen right at launch, but I know that it is something that's, both with Laravel Cloud and Laravel Forge, that the team wants to be as seamless as possible. And right now, honestly, the setup for Laravel Nightwatch is extremely simple, extremely painless in the sense that you basically install the PHP Artisan Nightwatch command, you install the composer package, you run the PHP Artisan Nightwatch command, you basically connect to your specific API key that is given through Nightwatch, and you're basically good to go. So yeah, a tick box to change those 3 steps might be more helpful in that sense, so you don't have to change your environment. But I believe it's probably going to be extremely simple, regardless if that checkbox is there on day 1. Let's see. Is there a reason to change from a $10 web hosting with SSH-DBs and 260 gigabytes? Again, Simon D'Angelo. It kind of just all depends on your specific, your specific needs, your specific purpose, and then also just what you want out of hosting. So if you are someone who wants to help to manage everything, to make sure that everything is properly, if you're the one that's going to be on call in the middle of the night, something breaks, then there's no reason to change. There's a reason why Laravel Forge exists, for example, because there are people who want to handle that, and I have even some applications that they just work best within a Laravel Forge application, and then there's some, especially like demos or just things that I either don't want to care about if it goes down or uptime or anything like that, then that's why I'm going to put on Laravel Cloud. So it just depends on your specific needs, your specific use cases, and on the Laravel Cloud landing page, there's also a great kind of comparison between when you might want to use Laravel Cloud versus Laravel Forge as well. Again, it's not a us versus them thing. It's all part of Laravel anyways, but it's one of those things where it just depends on who you are and what your application needs, and then it also just depends on how much do you want to be in charge of handling it, and how much customization do you want? Because if you do want that customization and being able to, manually SSH into something and change it, well, right now Forge is the best option because you can't do that within Laravel Cloud too. From a pure cost efficient standpoint, especially if it's something that runs consistently but not that much resources, you're probably going to be cheaper using Laravel Forge, even using the Laravel Forge like a subscription price per month. Can I use this hook without inertia, just API backend and pusher and React? I believe so. Again, there might be someone in the comments who might correct me, but as far as I know about Echo and about the specific use Echo hooks that were created by Joe Tannenbaum on our Laravel open source team, yes, they are completely separate from any front end through Laravel, similar to like Wayfinder. Wayfinder is separate from inertia itself in the sense that Wayfinder is the ability to have typed routes and typed action calls. But yeah, you can use that hook without inertia. It would just be setting up your Echo configuration to make sure it's connecting to the proper configuration. So you would have to have that setup happen outside of a Laravel application in your own, whether you're using like a Nuxt or Next or whatever that might be, but it is entirely doable. How is best solution for use no SPA mode, big modular inertia system? So inertia has the ability to have SSR mode, and even within Laravel Cloud, the ability to set up. So if I go into this app environment, let's say I had inertia set up on this particular app. We'll reset that. We have the ability to use inertia SSR just with one click. It's basically pre-rendering your JavaScript servers, your JavaScript pages on your server. And so SSR and inertia specifically is going to be, if you didn't want to use the SPA mode within inertia, then SSR is going to be a great option. But the good thing is none of your actual modularity and none of your code structure is going to change. It's as simple as really like thinking through, okay, is this something that I want to be server rendered? And it's more of like, does it your application need it, and less about, okay, how do I work with it now that it's enabled? For almost everything, it's not going to change your code at all. What did I miss, Raul? Glad to have you here. We're still going. We're still going strong. We've been live for an hour and 10 minutes now. I think in my schedule wise, I think we'll maybe have another 10 minutes or so to wrap this up, or 10 to 15 minutes or so to wrap this up. But glad to have you here. You didn't miss too much. Mostly we're just been hanging out, answering some questions, talking through Laravel Cloud and resources like that. I think the biggest thing that we've kind of come to agreement on, or maybe like a familiarity and interest on throughout the conversation, has been that resources in Laravel Cloud, especially for cost efficiency, can be used across different projects. So you can use one database for 10 different projects and save a bunch of money as well in the process. But yeah, Simon, thanks for the answer. Normal Laravel view with GitHub Actions. Sweet. Yeah, I think as far as I know, again, I can be wrong. I'm not all knowing, and I'm not 100% right on everything. But I think there's no reason that you can't use those use echo hooks, as well as just yesterday there was the use stream hooks that were released by the open source team as well. So let's go use stream Laravel. Let's go ahead and here, oh, there it is. So use stream hooks easily streams in your React and Vue applications. So just really not bare bones, but really minimal or very early start of this use stream hooks. But it was something that I know that was tweeted about by a couple people yesterday as well, Taylor and Joe Tannenbaum. But basically you have this ability, and we can look at the documentation here. If I was to do, let's do the Vue one, since that's what you're kind of mentioning, but you can consume streams in your Vue application. So it's currently in beta, like I said, subject to change prior to that, but it's similar to like that use echo hook, where you have the ability to say, okay, let's say we have this chat stream. I want to do X, Y, or Z in that. I want to, when I'm sending this to whatever that stream looks like, it's basically just a post request. Again, all requests are sent as JSON post requests. So this is something that can be used outside of inertia. It doesn't have to be used in inertia. It makes it easier in a lot of ways to use it as inertia, but you can set specific headers, CSRF token, credentials. And if you're doing that within a Vue single page application or Nuxt, completely doable. So yeah, those are some small things that you think, oh, that doesn't make sense that Laravel would spend time working on them when it's not super specific to Laravel, but it is in a lot of sense as well too. This just makes it easier to work with a Laravel API or a Laravel backend, regardless of how you're serving up that front end. I can't see any regions rollout on the Laravel Cloud side. Can a rollout page be added to give hope for people in other regions? That's a great question, Showstopper. I will bring that. I know some of our Laravel team is watching right now and probably taking notes as well. And so I think that's something that I will definitely bring to our team, and would be awesome to know for others like yourself to know if this is something that you should hold out hope for, I guess, or what is next in terms of what people are looking at. Again, I think the biggest, just to kind of give some insight, I don't know 100% the reason why. I'm not part of the infrastructure cloud team, but at the same time, I know that a lot of not difficulty, but a lot of what all goes into adding a new region to Laravel Cloud, and even things like Laravel Vapor means that we have to make sure that all of the resources that we create, that we use when it comes to building out an application, when it comes to using something like Postgres or MySQL or any of those resources, the database cluster, the cache cluster, or the buckets, all of those have to we have to make sure also can exist in that region as well, not just the application infrastructure. But yeah, I'll definitely bring that up to our team as well. Mateus, big fan here, Josh. Mateus, I'm a huge fan as well. For those who don't know, Mateus is now on the Laravel team, so we're glad to have him here. And he's putting a lot of work into Laravel Cloud, so he knows probably more about all of those questions I answer than I do. So yeah, glad to have you here, Mateus. Huge fan as well. Trevor, another question. I really love Laravel Reverb. I don't know why I started over that. I really love Laravel Reverb, but when you leave the Laravel starter kits and try to use it with another framework like Flutter for mobile, it becomes a bit convoluted. That makes sense. I know, anything that you're using something else outside of an API, it becomes tricky to connect to that. I would say so. Reverb is basically just pusher friendly. So I would try, honestly, I've not used Flutter, so this might be entirely wrong, but I would look at Flutter packages that are Google pusher friendly, because it is the same infrastructure. I don't know the right word. It's not coming to my head, but it's the same setup. It is compatible, like pusher compatible, just like a lot of bucket configurations are S3 compatible. Reverb is pusher compatible, so you'll basically be using any pusher compatible package within Flutter. You just change those settings to make sure that it is Reverb. So if you have a Reverb server hosted on Laravel Forge, you should be able to connect to that using any pusher compatible Flutter package. Again, not something that I've tried specifically or used Flutter myself. I have not even used React Native or anything like that with Reverb, but that might be something I want to dive in and try, because that would be very interesting to me. Thanks for answering all my questions. Thanks for being here, Showstopper. You literally stopped the show. But yeah, as we kind of wind down, I wanted to just deploy an application with a new environment on Laravel Cloud. I'll freak out some of our cloud infrastructure engineers who have worked on the domain side of things, and we'll just do it live and see what happens as well. But just so everyone knows, domains are finicky in and of themselves, in the sense that like it can take 24 hours to propagate. So I don't think that this will be up. This might not be up and live within like the couple minutes that we have to just try it out. But I wanted to show what it looks like to add a domain to a specific environment. So I have this main environment right here that I want to add a domain to. And so if we go into settings and domains here, I can add this domain here. Now, one of the things, you click on learn more and we can pull up our docs. One of the things I always like to think through when it comes to domains is if you have this domain verification timeout page on our knowledge base docs is going to be extremely helpful for you, because there's some things to think through. One, you have to make sure that you're redirecting both the www dot as well as the at. Usually most DNS providers have it as an at, which is the example.com, but then you also have to make sure you push the www record, because what Laravel is kind of doing behind the scenes is redirecting www dot to your example.com domain. And so if you didn't add an entry for that redirect, then it's just going to fail, because it's trying to redirect something that you don't have an entry for. Another thing is using Squarespace as a DNS provider. And I don't know if Squarespace is the only one, but at least there's probably others that are not super popular that might be this way as well. But basically, Squarespace automatically adds the example.com or the .example.com to DNS verification records. So you don't have to add the full thing that Laravel Cloud gives you. Instead, you would just omit the example.com. And these docs kind of show that as well. And then lastly, there's sometimes when a domain is flagged on Cloudflare, which is what we use for domain verification. sometimes when it's flagged as like improper, or it's something that there's a potential abuse concern or something like that. If that is the case, again, that's very rare, but if that is the case, reach out to our support team within Laravel Cloud and we can make sure that is the case. Now again, it might just be as simple as it takes about 24 hours for global DNS providers to propagate a domain. And so if it's past 24 hours and you're still seeing something like, oh, this looks like it successfully happened when using external DNS tools, but it's still showing as validating or timed out or something like that, that's when it's good to reach out. So yeah, don't reach out 5 minutes after because it's probably just, you have to wait longer. Every now and then, like it takes 5 minutes for me to set up a domain, but then every now and then it takes 14, 24 hours sometimes. DNS can be finicky like that. So I want to add this. I have this curate.ai domain. I'm using Namecheap to do it, but I was figuring, why don't we, push this through together to show you the process of what it looks like and just like any hiccups that might happen along the way. Again, live coding something or just like live setting something up, there's always going to be stuff that just naturally happens. And so, here, I'll kind of talk through like the process of what happens behind the scenes. So we have the ability to support this domain or support all subdomains. This is basically saying, if I want to in the future, I've done this for my personal domains. A lot of times for like a lot of demos, I want to be able to say, okay, a new project that I have, I just want to be up and ready to say, this is now, blog.curate.ai. But it's a completely new environment. It's a completely new project. Well, you wouldn't have to go through this process again if you supported all wildcard subdomains. For right now, we'll go ahead and support it. And then this is where we like redirect. So again, that's that setting that I talked to you about, that is the www dot needs to be redirected to the root domain. We're going to add the domain. So it's going to give us some options to add. And this is what I can then use on my Namecheap account. So it needs to verify the ownership, but we have a text record and a CNAME record. Let's go ahead and we'll grab this. So let's go ahead and in my Namecheap account, we need a text record that we add. So I'm going to manage this one right here. In advanced DNS, I want to add a new record and we're going to add a text record. And the value is this. Let's go ahead and bring this up here so I have it at the same time. And then, that was the name. This is the value. Let's actually do this side by side. See if this works. All right. Add new record. We'll add a text record here. The name is going to be this, and the value is going to be this. We'll save changes. We'll add a new one. Text record. Namecheap looks terrible on this small of a screen. But the good thing is Laravel Cloud looks really good. And apologize to any front-end engineers from the Laravel Cloud team who are on the call, because it's not meant to be this small of a screen. But they did a great job. It looks great, huh? So we'll do this and we'll plop in this value, save changes. And then we have a CNAME record we can add. So CNAME of this, we'll do this and this value, bam. And then we'll have another text record. And so we'll add this right here, text record, bam, and then bam. And so I think that is all correct. We have, we'll exit that one. So we have the text record for the Acme Challenge. We have the CNAME record hosting to these values. So everything looks correct there. And so basically, the next step within Laravel Cloud is exactly kind of like what we talked about. It's just kind of like waiting for, I might have accidentally closed out that one. The good thing is all this happens behind the scenes for us. So it's not like I have to have that page open for me. If I go back into my main environment and go to the domains, we should see that this is, it's verifying that ownership. Again, this can take up to 24 hours. I don't know if this will be ready for us even before we end the stream today. But while we're waiting for this, we can look at these. I'll look at these spinners kind of behind the scenes. let's go ahead and answer some more questions. We're probably going to be wrapping up here in the next 7 minutes, but thank you so much, everyone, for being here as well. If there's any other big questions, whether about Laravel Cloud, Laravel itself, again, I try to answer them as much as I can, as good as possible. I am not the sole source of truth for everything knowledge-wise when it comes to Laravel, but I at least might know a little bit, enough to point us in the right direction as well. I want to know more about Cache Memo. I'm really looking forward to your video about it. Kyle, glad to have you here, and thanks so much for supporting. Yeah, Cache Memo is very interesting for those who don't know. I'll kind of pull up my screen and kind of take a look at it as well. But if you go to the cache settings of, Cache Memo settings of Laravel, we have this ability to, very similar to if you have used Livewire and you have computed properties, we have this ability to temporarily store these resolved cache values in memory during a singular request or a job execution. And so this is going to save resources. It basically, just like it says here, it prevents the repeated cache hits within the same execution, significantly improving performance. And so if you have something that you're like, within that same request, you are accessing that cache multiple times, or at least checking for that cache multiple times. This memoized cache basically takes that cache and makes another, for all intents and purposes, another little cache within that cache itself. So you're caching your cache in a lot of ways. It's storing that resolved cache value. So the first time you grab it, you are resolving it, you are taking it from the cache itself, but then it's being stored in memory for that request, for that job execution. Again, I can't think of the top of my head, and someone in the chat might be able to say, hey, this is a great use case for this, but a single request, I can't think off the top of my head of when might be a good example of that in terms of a request that you're probably, using that value multiple times, or at least retrieving that value multiple times. But within job executions, it's a perfect use case for this. Within a single job, I grab something from the cache. I don't want to, within that, maybe it's like further down the job, or maybe it's like an if-else statement where if something happens, I need to go back and grab that cache and grab that. Instead of having to do all that work beforehand and saving that to a particular value, this just memoizes it. So now that value is going to be memoed. It's going to be stored in memory so that you can use it throughout your application. And you can also do that within putting values as well. So it's written to the underlying cache, but it's also memoized as well. So like this one, writes the underlying cache, memo get hits the underlying cache, and then memoize does not hit cache is right here. So the next time you get it, so this is writes to it, it hits the underlying cache, and and then this one, if you get it a second time, because we called it again, it does not hit the cache. So again, a great way to kind of just stop a foot gun from happening. If you're trying to hit the cache multiple times, this is the best way to do it. But yeah, full video would be awesome, because me personally, off the top of my head, I don't know, other than jobs, I don't know of like a best way that's practically this comes into play. And I know that this was created for a reason, and most of the time things that were created were probably for the Laravel team itself. So I'd love to dive into that a little bit more myself as well. By the way, I really appreciate you answering all questions about just picking the ones that you like. It's not common nowadays. Well, thanks so much, Treasure. I appreciate that. Again, like I said, we try to be an open book here at Laravel. There's some things I'm just not going to know. There's some things I am going to know, but I can't tell you. But most of the time, we try to just be as transparent as possible. Without me losing my job, I should say. Cal, thank you for your time with the explanations. I appreciate it. Ryan, will Laravel become a domain registrar and allow me to purchase a domain directly on cloud at some point? I actually don't know if that's even been talked about. I mean, obviously, it's probably something that the team has probably thought about at one point or reason in time. I don't know if that's something that's in the future. And if I do, it's probably something that, and if it is in the future, I don't know. It probably would be further in the future. But there's a lot of things that I think the cloud team has more focus on. I'll say it that way. The cloud team probably has more things that they're focusing on that make cloud better than the domain registrar purchase at this point. Yeah, great question, because it's like I said, anything that I answer here, is probably going to change. A lot of things change, development changes, but I try to answer as best to my knowledge, and I did not prepare for anything beforehand, so I try to just say what I know. And you might see tweets from Taylor saying exact opposite, and that's okay because he's the boss. But yeah, let's go ahead and check back into the Laravel Cloud domain. I'm curious of if anything changes. So it's still verifying ownership. If we click into that, you can see here that it's continuing to do that. And so, like I said, it can take up to 24 hours. It really depends on your DNS. It just depends on that DNS provider. Like I'm using Namecheap. Sometimes, like I said, it takes 5 minutes. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. This was more meant to show that if there was some errors that showed up, it'd be nice to try to walk through them with you. But we haven't gotten any errors yet, so that's a good sign. It's probably just DNS propagation doing DNS propagation things. Awesome. I think there's a few more questions, and then we'll go ahead and call it for the day. How will SSL for the custom domain work? Can you import the SSL certificate on the Laravel Cloud UI? So I believe SSL is kind of already given out of the box within Laravel Cloud domains. I don't know. Let me do a quick search. Import SSL. I don't think there is a way at this point in time to import an existing SSL certificate for that domain. I could be wrong about that. If that is something that you absolutely need, be sure to write into our support team. I don't know the correct answer off the top of my head, but SSL is given for custom domains out of the box within Laravel Cloud. I'll try to get to everyone's questions, but we'll try to wrap up here in a little bit as well. So I apologize if I do not get to your questions, but thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Bruno, hi from Uruguay. Thank you so much for joining in. Lots of questions about the cloud from Kaio. I think it would be cool to have a live with the cloud infrastructure guys. That is a great option. I know that we've talked about a little bit, like within our Reddit AMA. A lot of those questions still hold true. Those answers still hold true with Joe Dixon, who is the lead engineer on the cloud team. But yeah, I think this is a great point. Something I'll bring up to the team as well. Difference between cache and sessions. So cache is going to be stored externally, usually like in a separate table. So like you can use a database cache or something like Redis, and then session is going to be stored in memory as well. Kenny has a huge Laravel fan base. Hosts Africa's first Laracon. Who knows? I know that Laravel meetups are something that is we're wanting more and more people to host their own Laravel meetups and be able to have that opportunity. So we never know when opportunities like that might arise. Yeah, we'll call it there, everyone. Thank you so much again for everyone who joined, everyone who hung out in the chat. I really appreciate it and just loved hanging out with all of you, and just appreciate just being able to walk through this as well. And then Chris did answer for Showstopper. As far as I know, it'll be a new certificate issued and managed by Cloudflare via Laravel Cloud. No need to use Let's Encrypt or pay for SSL. Yes, that's correct. If you did happen to need your own SSL certificate, I know some people need that for whatever reason for their specific domain. And I don't think existing SSL certificates are supported, but let us know in support if that is something you absolutely need. But yeah, thanks so much for joining again. If you want to click that like and subscribe button, that helps us. That way, the next time we go live, it just pushes the algorithm and all that kind of stuff. It helps push it out to as many people as possible. But thank you, everyone, for joining, for being here. I really appreciate everyone, and I just like hanging out with all of you as well. So yeah, thanks, Kaio. Thanks, Chris. Hopefully you have a fantastic rest of your day, evening, night, morning, wherever you are. Have a good night's sleep. Have a good day. And we will see you next time on Laravel Cloud, or next time on Laravel channel. I think there might be some more live streams as well as some more videos coming out shortly. So make sure to stay tuned for that, and hopefully to see you all at Laracon. So have a great day.